In this video, we're going to take a look at the modifications necessary to use this aftermarket ARB competition cover on this Dana 60 that is from a 2003 Super Duty. The main point of interference is where the leaf spring bracket mounts to the axle tube. There's interference here on the cover and the bracket. And in looking through the back hole, the rear hole, the U-bolt wouldn't be able to fit through the hole. So this bracket's actually not in position, and it needs to move over to basically where the case is. That the case seam is about where the U-bolt comes past. So we're going to have to machine the cover. In looking at the axle from the side, being able to see the cover, there's approximately 3/8 of an inch of material here and 1/2 inch of material here and here that are where the U-bolt needs to slide through. So those are the areas we're going to have to machine to allow for U-bolt and bracket clearance. To mount the ARB cover to the mill, there aren't a lot of flat surfaces to mount off of, except for the mounting face that actually locates on the axle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the standard 5/16 mounting bolts and insert them, and then I can loosely tighten them down and get the 1, 2, 3 blocks situated on the cover. Fortunately, a 1, 2, 3 block has the same mounting hole threads as the axle. So I can just use the screws or bolts that would mount the cover to the axle to then bolt the mounting blocks on. Now, I'm leaving them loose because when I put it in the vise, I'm going to allow that play to allow itself to align with the vise jaw. So I'm going to use a support block back here and then flip the cover over. I already have a set of parallels in the vise that will orient the 1, 2, 3 blocks. There we go, that's dropped down. And I can adjust that to where it's just in there. And now I'll hand tighten down the vise jaw. Now that that's tight, I have a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque the vise. So rather than doing it by hand and relying on just feel, which isn't very accurate, a torque wrench will give you a consistent clamp load each time. Now that that's torqued in place, I can move it back and forth, but I'm going to slide it so it's all the way back. The cutter is going to want to push the cover this way. So I'm going to bias the cover that way before I tighten these bolts down. And none of this is actually in the ARB instructions. It says you might have to modify it by cutting or grinding, but I haven't been able to find anyone else who has mounted one of these ARB covers. To make sure I have enough clearance between the saw and the 1, 2, 3 block, I've jogged the table over, and I can then turn the saw, or turn the spindle by hand, just to check clearance with the saw. And there's about 50 to 60 thousandths clearance of the 1, 2, 3 block. So now that that's set on the Y, I can adjust it in the Z and get ready for my first pass. I don't have to take much all the way across, just enough to clear the U-bolt, but this side does have to go higher to clear the bracket. So I'll do these in 2 separate operations. The first with a saw, and then probably come back with an end mill to just clean up this first rib here. The mill I'm using is actually an old South Bend. South Bend's known for making lathes, but they made mills back in the 1960s as well. So this one has a conversion to allow it to run ER32 collets. So standard ER32 collets. So now I'm switching to a 1/2 inch 5 flute carbide end mill and a 1/2 inch ER32 collet holder. I just kind of spin that into place. Grab the collet wrench and tighten it in. Pretty straightforward. A cheap paintbrush works much better than having cast iron splinters in my finger. I actually went ahead and machined both of these ribs, the one on this side and that side, mostly because, one, it's in the machine, and two, I didn't want it to leave a sharp edge that I would have to clean up. So the milling machine is good at cleaning up the sharp edge that was left by that key cutter. So we're going to loosen this. And then I'm going to clean the cover off with some brake cleaner and get all the shavings and oil and everything else off of it. With the cover reinstalled, let's check the fit of the bracket that holds the U-bolt. Slide that underneath, and I have plenty of room for adjustment here in both angles and be able to get the U-bolts in without any issue. So since the part's cast iron, I'm going to take it off, give it a coat of paint there, just to keep it from rusting, and that'll wrap it up for this video.